Yeah, it's on.
Right.
So what we'll do is to find out what is the goal of the annual party, as in what kind of fun do we want to have? Is that going to be serious? Going to be fun? What kind of theme? Right, probably a theme as well. Okay, well, so that's the first step. What will be once you got a theme, once you got a goal?
The budget.
The budget.
Because in many cases they have high expectations, like steep bands, a lot of entertainment, but zero budget.
So it should be general information of the framework, more or less, right?
Okay.
So like budget, what does the...
Okay. And okay, we'll have budget, and then the boss says, okay, this is our budget, according to the theme.
You build the core team.
Sorry?
Build the team. Build the team.
Build the team, okay, good.
Of talents.
Okay. So you want to have get the core group of people who probably can either do the performance themselves or are good in getting people to do performance. Right, so it's a talent team. Not the talented team, but a team that manages talent. So it's a talent team. What else?
The thing is, you might decide that your talent team decide the theme and the goal and what they want to achieve that year.
It could be. It's just that it can go the other way around. That this can be number one, and then the goal and theme can be number two, or in some companies the budget can be number one. Whatever you do, this is the budget. So, like I said, there is no fixed standard answer, and we're just going through the exercise just to get ourselves have an idea of if something is complex, how do we break it down into different steps? How do we allocate the right steps to the right person? And how do we know that each step is done? What are some indicators of success that the steps will have? Okay, now you have a team. What else? Let's say there are about 2 or 3 more steps.
What responsibilities?
Yeah, you have that in the team. So yeah. So what next?
You have a timing, I guess.
Timing. Definitely there'll be a time there's a date for the party, so there'll be there. What else? What are things you need to do to get the party going? You got a team. What else do you need? You need a plan. Okay, so you need to have what kind? Right, you need a plan in the sense of what kind of shows you want to put up, what kind of performances, right? How you want to schedule the performances, who to do speeches, and so on. You need to do the plan in terms of what kind of staging, where it's going to be held. Okay, what else is needed? Simple things that are needed just to quicken the process. Once you have a plan, you may do some what we call sourcing, because you are not an entertainment company. You won't have the lights, the stage, everything, right? Some of the performance may not be done by your own colleagues, maybe outsiders. So you may need to do some sourcing or outsourcing of some things, and at the end of the day, you probably will need to have some level of what we call you may need to have some level of floor management. Meaning, when we have the party ongoing, you need to have someone to be there to make sure that, okay, this is now the VIP makes a speech, and then the music comes on, and then the performance go, and then we have food and so on. Someone needs to manage the floor or the event during the day, right? And so on. It probably can be broken down into a few steps. And again, there is no right set answers. The sequence may be different. Some components can be different, but it gives us an idea of how we are going to put the right kind of people to the right kind of goals. We won't go into the details of what kind of people will be best in each subcategory in the work, in the steps. what we want to do is to just briefly go through how do we know we have succeeded at each step. The goal thing.
You know after the party.
You know after the party. But what else? What are the things we can know before the party?
If we kept with the budget.
If it fits the budget. Yes.
Timeline. How we done the timeline.
Yeah, program timeline, or sometimes you can just ask a few more other colleagues.
Some spot check.
Spot check or surveys, not surveys, but just some straw research. Just ask a few people. Is this, do you like this thing? Right? Or you can send an email, choose the right thing. Budgets, well, basically, if the boss approves it, it's the right budget. Right? If the boss approves it, and if you are not suspected of any fraudulent wrongdoing of overspending, then it's the right budget. So in other words, if you're not like GSK, it's the right budget.
When you don't have food in the end, but you have good lighting, then you know there was a problem in the teaming. So there you can judge if
you got a budget that can actually deliver, and it's not too small. Right, the talent team, how do you know if you've got the right people on board?
I've just said it, when you have no food, but you have good lighting and performances, then you
Ah,
know that
right,
the
okay.
was
The
right.
performance is good. And,
Yeah.
and again, there are different ways. If midway throughout the rest of it, the talent team, basically there's a lot of lockdown, things don't move forward a lot, probably you have the wrong team. Or probably there might be some issues within the team. Planning, how do you know it's the right plan? Milestones, right? Anything that has a plan will have more milestones, more benchmarks, so you find out which part of the plan that there is. The people who are tasked to actually monitor the plan, is that person really is focusing on monitoring the plan? Are things going according to plan? So you can actually monitor and evaluate that plan. In terms of sourcing, how do you know you have succeeded? Do they fit budget? Are they able to meet your expectations? Okay, so these are ways you can gauge success. Floor management, if things don't get too messy, you've succeeded. Right? So this again just a simple example on what are the things to do a lookout for. Just break down a big goal into the different steps, find out who are the right people to do it, how do you measure success. And we won't have time to really go into a goal setting exercise, but if you're really doing for training for in-house program, what we really do is to get the managers to come up with a goal, and usually it's a management goal that they've had for a year, and we just want to review the goal. What is the end objective? When you have this goal, what is the purpose of the goal? If you want to launch 20 new products in a year, why? Why is it required? What will happen if you don't achieve it? How to make it challenging, not just for you, but also the rest of the team, of your subordinates. When the timeline, limited by time, when must you achieve it? How can you get buy-in? And last but not least, what are the animated steps? The steps that we are making here are in a way animating the goal. We need to know, we have a goal, but we also need to know what are the steps that is required to reach the goal. Then we have good execution. So, which brings us back to this case, which was the opening case. You know what? You need to delegate a number of tasks and responsibilities to a team member, while the team members seem to show good attitude. It's always accommodating, doesn't work wrongly, and miss your deadlines. What would you do? The first thing to do in this case, if you are trying to have a standard answer, the first thing to do is like what is mentioned here. Are you giving that person a task or a responsibility? If it's a task, then they probably will need to have clear procedures. If you give a task without clear procedure, then probably that person is not going to follow to your expectations. You need to give clear procedures. If it's a responsibility, have you mapped out the steps rightly for the person? Are the expectations well communicated? The next question is that the right person for the right task or responsibility? Are you allocating the right person for the right kind of work? And so these are two things you need to evaluate from the manager's point of view. The third thing is to sit down with the team member. If you find that, well, if you find that you have delegated the wrong kind of work to the wrong kind of person, the solution is easy. Don't let the same person do the same kind of work anymore. Get the person to do something else. Delegate other kind of work to that person. But if you do find that the kind of work you delegate is what a person can do, and supposedly in terms of their temperament, in terms of the team role, their profile, it's what they would like to do as well, but still that person is not doing well, then it could be issues about that person's motivation level. Whether the person is just saying yes but not really committed to doing it, then you probably will need to sit down with that person and just talk to the person and just highlight things like, I'd just like to talk to you about recent performance. We have given you this and this job, and they have not been well completed. The deadlines are missed. We just want to find out what happened. Okay, so sometimes when we want to ask the employee what happened to the work, what we'd like to say is we may not want to go into the situation in a way that is overly confrontational. So we don't want to go into the situation and tell the person why you didn't finish the work, why it's wrong and you didn't tell us. Sometimes we just want to give that person a benefit of doubt. And they say that the certain work that's given to you is not done right and the deadlines are missed. We just want to know what happened. More of an objective way. That's one. And two is we want to be specific. Don't use things like why is it that you always miss your deadlines? Why is it you never complete the work right? When you use terms that are very general, very absolute, like always and never, what's going to happen? What will happen what will the person say to you? You always do the wrong thing. You never get it right. You never meet your deadlines.
Say that's not true.
He'll say that person will challenge you. The person will say that no, there are some work that I got it right. Right? And you go into the conflict. You go into a heated discussion on which are the work that he has done right and which is not your point. You want to address those that are not done right. It's just like we mentioned this many times. For those guys here, maybe it happens to Kurt, maybe. Guys in the middle of night, when you go to the toilet, and sometimes either you forgot to flush or you forgot to turn off the lights, or both. Sometimes, right? Not always. But the other half, the wives, will wake up and find that something is not done right, and will tell the husband that why is it that you always never flush or turn off the lights? And what will the husband say? I turned off last night. I flushed last night. It's not always. Right? So it's a kind of a similar situation. Right, so you don't want to get into a situation. So if you are looking at here and you find out, okay, it's not a mismatch of skills, it's not a mismatch of responsibilities. If it's responsibilities, it's actually a good fit. Then there may be an issue with motivation or some cultural type miscommunication. So what we want to do is to be specific and say that no, when I gave you the work last week and the work this week. They both missed the deadline, and when the work was submitted, it wasn't the way that it was specified. Just want to find out what happened. Just let the person tell you what do you think happened. It could be a situation that there are certain cultures in Southeast Asia especially, if you're in, say, the Philippines, if you're in, say, Indonesia, sometimes employees are so-called conditioned to always say yes. even if they would not do it, they'll tell you yes.
What do the bosses do there? They know that the employee who said yes will lead it over to someone who is able to do it, or I mean, they cannot survive as a company when they just have yes sayers.
It's tougher to manage in that situation because the employees have got a mindset that whatever the employer says, they must say yes, even though if they have no idea how to do it. And it also a culture there to be less forward in asking for help. So if they don't know how to do it, at most they'll ask their colleagues, but most of the time they don't even ask. They are most likely not to ask their bosses that, no, I need help. So there's some point of time there could be a cultural issue. So if you talk to this employee and say that, no, you missed the deadline for the job I gave you last week, this week's job wasn't done the right way as I expected, I just want to find out what happened. And if that person has got a problem coming up with any kinds of reasons, you probably may want to tell the person, say that, no, it's okay just to tell me. I'm here to help you. I'm not saying that you're a bad employee. I appreciate that a lot of times you've shown good attitude, you're always nice, you're always polite, you're always courteous. I just want to find out what are the things that is preventing you from doing your job well. If you have difficulties, tell me. Okay, so we just want to go into that aspect. Now, if the employer shows ways to give excuses, denies that it's done wrong, and even push the blame to you, saying that you did not give the right instructions, of course I did it badly, right? And it basically shows a bad attitude, then you know that this employee is likely to have got a bad attitude. Right, and then you can change, you can switch to a different style and say that, no, we appreciate you being nice most of the time, but in terms of work, that seems to be a bad attitude to me, or a negative attitude. Yeah, sorry.
In my case, I've been struggling sometimes with really small issues where I thought it would be easy.
Sure.
But it turned out to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't know how to solve these kind of things. For example, I have two very small example.
Yeah.
Let's say that you ask someone to prepare a document.
Mm-hmm.
Then for that person, then it's just about the content of the document.
Mm-hmm.
But then he or she will not think about, but that document actually needs to be sent to the client, so you need to look nice,
Sure.
So the logo must be placed correctly.
Sure.
Or you cannot have three different fonts in the document.
Sure.
Or if I tell, please let me know when you have sent this document.
Sure.
Okay, but then this person will just think, okay, so it's not my job to write it, but then it's still your job to ask the other person if the document is written.
Sure.
So if the document is not written, you cannot send it.
Sure.
But that person will not necessarily think about it.
Sure.
He will just say, okay, I just need to send it whenever it arrives.
Sure.
So is this a task problem, or is it not giving enough responsibilities, or is that person just not good and does not want to be proactive? Or
Sure.
I'm really struggling with this kind of
Sure.
small
So probably this is the same issue if you're a foreigner, if you're a Westerner, and you've got Chinese employees who's drafting your letters, and you probably have seen this issue. You're sending out emails or even letters out in English, and they usually will fall into a certain format. And if you're a Westerner, the format probably is being taught in school. It's the kind of format you see from emails received anyway. So it comes naturally to a Westerner, having read English or Western emails, letters, and so on, or notices. But to someone who is educated in China throughout the life, having that kind of Western or standard English type of format does not come as naturally to that person. So in this case, that the work could be a task, or it could be a responsibility. Right? It depends on how you want to turn it. If you want to turn it into a task, then you probably will need to go through as in, I need you to draft an email, and the email will need to follow a certain format strictly. So you need to spell out the kind of procedures for that person. That can be one way, and it really depends on your management style. You can also choose to turn it into a responsibility by saying that, now if you were to send an email out, what do you think will be important in terms of projecting the right image to that other person? So just throw it as a question. I mean, besides getting the content right, it's great. What else is important to project the right kind of image to that person? Right? And you may also want to go into the details of misalignment in terms of the formatting. The spacing is not right. We also noticed that usually a lot of Chinese employees tend not to have spacing after punctuation, right, or paragraphing and so on. So you probably don't need to spend more time explaining why you need to do all that, and let them have a sense of that there's a responsibility, there's a reason, we want to project the right image. If you don't, it looks unprofessional on our end. There are no right ways whether you want to do it as a task, as in clear procedures, follow procedure, or think about it as in what kind of image you want to project to the recipient as a response. There are no rights and wrongs. It's a matter of what kind of styles you're in, and putting it as a task, you get immediate results. But you may not get someone with the right initiative, the right thinking. If you put it as a responsibility, you probably will need to track the work again and again and say, now these are certain areas that is not projected rightly. It doesn't give the right image. It doesn't project the right professionalism, and we need to change it. It probably will entail you to actually give more feedback to that person. Right? It requires more time on your part, but it may end up with you having someone who is able to think to find out what is the right way to do the right job. So again, there are pros and cons of both. It's just a matter of, even for small things like this, it's a matter of how you want to manage and relate to your team.
But how do you empower your employees and teach them to be more proactive? Let's say that maybe the job was just to send a document,
sure.
And then he or she will say, oh, but you didn't tell me to do anything else.
Right.
But of course, to send a document, you should have follow up with someone else to see if he or she has written the document.
Sure.
But then he will say, oh, but that's not my job. My job
sure.
is just to send the document.
Sure.
So, but you don't have time to follow up on all those things.
Again, are the expectations managed correctly from you as a manager? So sometimes when we say send the document, it means send and follow through, or send in the right way and follow through. To the employee, they may not perceive it the way as you perceive it. So you can tell them that when I ask you to send, what it means is that you need to follow through as well. Right? And of course, there will be employees who will say that it's still not my job, and that will be a case of bad attitude. Right? But if you're able to say that, when I say send, we'll need you to help to follow up with additional work. If the person can understand and accept it, then it's usually someone of a more positive attitude. Again, sometimes employees tend to be defensive if they think that we are trying to find fault. Right? So if you say that I'm not trying to find fault with you, I'm just saying that how we can actually do a better job. The purpose of sending is so that we can follow through and get a job done well enough. So for next time, we'll like you to, though there's the right format when you send, double check and also just follow up with a phone call to make sure the person actually receives it.
So then it's better to don't ask always like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? So, but rather than actually, what did you thought when you do this, or something like this?
It's more like, why do we need to do this? We ask the person, why didn't you do this? And the person comes out with answers, I didn't know I have to do this. I thought this is not part of my job. And the next question is, if we don't do this, what's going to be the impact to the recipient?
to get actually the
Yes, just get them to think. And so we
yes.
will like to have that person handling it as a responsibility. Well, that's my way of working, and I'm not saying that it's the right way. My way of working is we'd like to have that person to think of it as a responsibility, just to think why we need to do whatever we do, rather than to dictate what steps you need to do all the time.
I think also in China it might work when you say, okay, when you send it out like this, do you know what they will think about you? So that they are reflecting actually about that when she is not considering to change this, that this is actually putting herself in a bad or unprofessional light. And I think with this is a very strong, okay, this is maybe a second step. You know, it shouldn't be like the first step already like this. But that could be also something which pressures her to reflect.
Could be. Well, sometimes we don't need to even say that it has a personal impact. We just say that it has an impact on, it's got a negative impact on the company.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't care.
We'll prefer that they care for the company.
Yes, for sure.
so we'll work on the company first, and if that doesn't work, we'll go to individual. And usually, if they don't care about the company, that shows the kind of negative attitude as well. Yes.
Case one, we have.
Yeah, this is a case for this one. Usually, if it's a 2-day training, we'll have more cases as well. This is one of the more typical cases. People say that they will do it and then they drop the ball.
So you're offering these courses, right?
Yes, we are.
2 days course?
2 days course. Thanks, Ross.
In Chinese, you conduct in Chinese? or
Both English and Chinese.
Do you have the employer side as well? Like employee side?
Employees?
Yes. It's like the case, this is a leadership cases, but do you also go to companies, for example, and try to get the other side?
Well, we have a module. I mean, we don't have it as a full course. We have a module that says how to manage and lead a boss.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, well, again, it's different from career development, which is really employee side. It's more like, especially if you're a middle manager. Now you have team members below you. You've got your bosses that gives you things, and you need to somehow manage your boss's expectations as well. Right? You're somehow stuck in between or pressure in between. So by leading and managing a boss, it doesn't mean that you're arrogant and tell a boss no and so on. It's about there are certain things that you need to negotiate with a boss. There are certain things you need to know what are the end objectives of your bosses. What are key things our bosses actually are concerned about? And the boss gives you a list of 10 things. What do you think are the most important to your boss? Right? If you lack the resources, you lack the time, how then do you negotiate with your boss to make sure that the right things for your boss is being done, and the rest can be negotiable. So that is a way for it's not employee, it's more like middle managers. Great. Well, I think we have overrun the time a little bit. So what we'll do is thank you for coming, and hope you enjoyed breakfast and the talk. You're not just here for breakfast. The talk is complimentary. So if you want to hang around, feel free. I think there's still more coffee and juices outside, and we probably will have the next power breakfast either end of April, if not middle of May. We'll keep it in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.